Okay, I call the meeting to order. I'm getting a bit of feedback here. I'll go to clerk for roll call. Okay, Jennifer, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the June 2nd Council meeting. I'm Jennifer Connor, Clerk of Ramara Township. I'll begin with roll call of Council. Mayor Clark.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Bell.
Present.
Councillor Snatch.
Present.
Councillor Fisher.
Present.
Councillor Tuyu. Present. Councillor Goff.
Present.
And Councillor Bell.
Present.
Thank you.
This meeting is being streamed live on the Township of Ramara YouTube channel. Be advised that by attending a public meeting of the Council of the Township of Ramara, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded and will form a part of the public record. The chair, CAO, and/or clerk have the discretion and authority to terminate or interrupt the live streaming in exceptional circumstances where the content of debate is considered inappropriate to be published. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, still feeding a bit of feedback, but that's okay. I'll look for the motion to approve the agenda.
That the council agenda dated June 2nd, 2025 be adopted as presented.
Moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Snutch. Any questions on the agenda? I am not seeing any. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Do I have a disclosure of pecuniary interest by any member of council? I'll say the same spiel if I say a county. If you find yourself in that situation later, please announce it at that time. I do have several announcements here, and just bear with me. This is National Indigenous History Month and Natural Indigenous Peoples Day. June is a Natural Indigenous, wow, I have trouble, I apologize. Indigenous History Month, a time to recognize and honor the history and heritage and resilience of the diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people across this region and all across Canada. June 21st marks Natural Indigenous Peoples Day, a day to celebrate the cultures and contributions of the Indigenous communities, both locally and across the country. And here in Ramara, we are fortunate to have the Chippewas of Ramara First Nation as our neighbors. We continue to benefit from our shared partnership and we've built and the knowledge that they have shared. I begin tonight's meeting by reading our land acknowledgement. Ramara Township sits on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people and subject to the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Haudenosaunee Confederacy and the Anishinaabe and allied nations to peacefully share and care for this lands and waters of the Great Lakes region. Ramara sits in the space referred to as the land in between, where limestone and granite meets. We would like to acknowledge our closest neighbors, the Chippewas of Ramara First Nation, prior to the amalgamation of Ramara and Mara townships, and through the present day, our communities have shared joint interests and have long-standing relationship with the Ramara as part of the Chippewas Tri-Council and the Williams Treaties First Nation. It's also Pride Month, and 2SLGBTQ1A plus community, and we want to reaffirm our commitment to inclusion, respect, and dignity for all. Pride is about visibility, equality, and creating communities where everyone feels safe, which they certainly are here in Ramara, and we've always supported this community as we move forward. June also recognizes Recreation and Parks Month. June's a very busy month here, folks. Ramara Recreation Crew are hosting programs and events all month long to promote the benefits of staying active and connected. So let's see if you want to see what's happening in Ramara, visit ramara.ca/recreation events. And Ramara Trail Extension is opening with a Mayor's Walk on Saturday, June 7th at 10 a.m. We'll be gathering near the Ramara Farm off of Airport Road, where we officially open the new beautiful section of trail that now connects Casino Ramara with Airport Road. And I want to thank the Chippewas of First Nation. This was a partnership with them opening this wonderful trail. So please come out, enjoy the fresh air, and walk with us as we celebrate the opening of this trail. It's also Volunteer Recognition Awards nominations are now open. So Ramara Awards Committee is currently accepting nominations for the 2025 Ramara Volunteer Recreation Awards. If you know someone who goes above and beyond to make this community better, certainly get it out, nominate them for either the Wall of Fame or the Spirit of Ramara Award. And the deadline is June 27th and at 4:30 PM. And you'll find the details on ramara.ca/awards. And lastly, we're calling for committee volunteers. We are currently looking for volunteers to join our new Climate Action Committee. Is looking for 3 members of the public. And Lagoon City Parks and Waterways has 1 vacancy for the levy paying Lagoon City resident. If you're interested in contributing to our community, please visit ramara.ca/apply now. And the deadline for these committees are June 13th at 4:30 PM. So any other announcements? I'll start with Councillor Fisher.
Thank you. We weren't going to get away with just 7 announcements today. I've got 2 more. Tomorrow, the Rooted in Ramara Committee is getting together to open our garden, get it all toiled, our plants in. We're doing that at 11 a.m. The community garden is at the Ramara Center, so anyone's welcome to come and join us, get your hands dirty. And we're going to be sorting some seeds to refill our seed library. Secondly, with the Rooted in Ramara Committee, I'm going to have this put up in the township office or somewhere. We're hosting a workshop. The committee's partnered with the Legion and the library and the health unit. And the health unit is able to provide some training and workshops. And the workshop that they're able to provide is going to happen here in the council chambers. So that way we can stream it live as well as have it available on our YouTube channel, but also live. If you come live, there are some light refreshments. That's happening Wednesday, June 11th at 10 a.m. And it's called Plates and Pockets. It's to address food, household food insecurity and food affordability in Simcoe Muskoka. So I just wanted to make sure it's free attendance, no registration required. Just come. Refreshments will be available, and it's here on Wednesday, the 11th.
Thank you. Councillor Tuohy, I believe your hand was up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've been very busy over the past week doing my best to support our residents both in and outside of the community. On Tuesday, I attended a gala event at the casino on behalf of the mayor, warmly welcomed by Chief Williams, to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the Canadian Federation of University Women, Aurelia, and the incredible work they are doing to advocate for women and girls by raising money for university scholarships and for trying to raise awareness of intimate partner violence. The guest of honor was Margaret Atwood, author of The Handmaid's Tale, who candidly spoke about the parallels between the totalitarian patriarchal regime depicted in The Handmaid's Tale and the geopolitical climate to our south. Wednesday was the last meeting of the school year for the Indigenous advocacy group I'm proud to be part of, which seeks to foster a greater sense of community for First Nation students at Ramsey Central Public School and building relationships with non-Indigenous students. There are big plans for the upcoming year, some of which involve our growing Ramara Trails system along the Ramara Road corridor. On Thursday, it was Twin Lakes Secondary School put on its One Simple Seed event, which showcased the students' skills who grow their own food and maintain their pollinator gardens for their bee apiary. It was not surprising at all for me to learn that several of the students in charge of growing the vegetables and cooking and serving the food were Ramara students, clearly using their natural farming skills. On Saturday, I was honored to attend the annual ceremonial review with the Barrie Sea Cadets, some of whom are Ramara kids who got their start with the Aurelia Navy League Cadet Program. MP John Broussard was also in attendance, and we were treated to a distinguished awards ceremony and a display of skills from the cadet band and perfect drill formation. Skills aside, they can always be recognized for their respect. If a youth ever addresses you as ma'am or sir, chances are you are speaking to a Royal Canadian Cadet. And on yesterday, I participated with the START, Saving Turtles at Risk Today, advanced training recertification to update my permits with the MNRF to be able to legally excavate turtle eggs for safe incubation and release to where they came from, because more than 85% of turtle nests are eaten by predators. Given that all of Ontario turtles are considered to be species at risk, and given that Ramara Township is a real turtle hotspot, it is important to protect them as they play a critical role in wetland health. With the Climate Action Committee in the process of finding members, I'm excited to bring this to the table. And I'll be leaving some of the flyers of what residents can do if they see a turtle injured or laying eggs at the front desk in the pamphlet section. Thanks.
Okay, Councillor Bell.
Thank you. I have two things I'd like to update. Last Monday, I mentioned that the Kuchiching Family Health Team had its wellness event. I don't know the final numbers, and I'm not going to steal the thunder of Aurelia Soldiers Hospital, who's here to present to us today. But I did have an opportunity to volunteer throughout the afternoon, and it was a really great event. There was quite a bit of information there about how you can connect to the Kuchiching Ontario Health Team. So if anybody would like more information about that, I'm at ask@ramara.ca. And the second thing I want to share is that the Ramara Chamber of Commerce and Experience Project on Wednesday night had the opportunity to honor one of Ramara's heroines, Jane Lee. It was a wonderful, really truly moving moment when Jane was recognized for the many, many years of contributions that she's made to Ramara Township, including and certainly probably most remarkably being able to get programs in place to feed families in Ramara Township. It was well attended. It was a really special evening. I mean, we honored businesses, but I think the highlight was absolutely having the opportunity to celebrate everything Jane has done for Ramara Township. So really just a moving event. And I just want to say again, thank you so much, Jane Lee, for all you've done.
Okay, and as I went through my announcements, I left one to the last on purpose, but I missed Seniors Month, and boy, I can tell you, county would be all over me. Simcoe County has declared June as Seniors Month, celebrating the vital contributions of older adults across our community. And this year's theme is fit, active, and healthy seniors. So we encourage everybody to help celebrate with our seniors and the lasting impact that they've contributed to our society in building this wonderful nation that we call our own and the wonderful county that we call home. And lastly, I am very pleased to officially welcome Melissa Gowanlock to the Township of Ramara team as our new Manager of Communications and Community. With Manager of Communications and Community Experience, Melissa brings a lot of experience from the area, and what's even better is she's another local Ramara citizen. So you're going to find Ramara Township is a wonderful place to work. We've got a fabulous team here. People come here. It's not only a great place to live, it's a great place to work. This council greatly values all of our staff, and we recognize the input and the great team we have here. It's a great place to build a career. It's a great place to start a career, or a great place to end a career. Welcome, and we are very happy to have you amongst our award-winning team. I'd like to welcome Melissa. So with that, anything you want to say as you show up first time, first meeting?
Very excited to be here. Thank you very much.
Definitely want to work behind the typewriter and not in front of the microphone as well.
That's correct.
Well, thank you. Welcome. You're going to be a wonderful fit. That's the end of the announcements. Presentations. Yes, I believe we do. Or is that coming later in my agenda?
It's later, your worship.
Pardon me?
Later.
Later? Okay, then I'll roll right into our public meeting. So with that, we have the one. I got to find the spiel for it now. So first I have the public meeting, and I've got, as required under the planning. Oh, I got to open the meeting. Is there disclosure of pecuniary interest by any member of council? Not seeing any. As required under the Planning Act and pursuant to council policy, council is holding a public meeting to deal with one planning proposal, zoning bylaw amendment file Z3/25 8213 Brahma Road. The purpose of this meeting is to inform and provide the public and members of council with an opportunity to ask questions, express views with respect to the proposal. Council will be considering all comments and submissions received, and staff will work in an attempt to resolve the outstanding concerns, if any. Staff from the planning department are present and will be writing down any comments. The clerk will now advise on the manner of giving notice and give an explanation of the proposed amendment. Jennifer?
Thank you, your worship. Notice of public meeting and complete application for this application was sent to all appropriate property owners and agencies on May 9th, 2025, and a sign was posted on the property in accordance with provincial regulations. Comments of no concern and no objection were received from the township's fire department and Bridge Gas. The building department noted that building permits will be required for the trailers and septic system. Written comments were received from Mrs. Mrs. Kara Cooper at 8221 Rammer Road. Concerns include lot grading, septic system, waste and privacy. Written comments were received from Mr. Todd Blair at 7744 Singing Pines, requesting consideration to ensure the overland drainage course currently on the subject property is not altered in a way that would impact its drainage. 15 individual and unique letters supporting the amendment were received yesterday on June 1st from Elizabeth Castro Giles, Kathy Westcott, 3113 Muskoka Street, Ron Shitstad and Deb Marks, 7856 Grist Mill Road, Dave Dubois, 3103 Muskoka Street, Dr. Tess Flynn, 202 Bayshore Drive, Tony Ballum, 7592 East River Road, Ralph and Heather Vincent, East River Road, Glenn Hudgen, Green Kaiser, Melanie Rimke, Judy Simpson, 7764 Nob Hill, Heather Hill, Mariah Hill, Chuck Giles, 7826 County Road, 169, Shay Stevens. The amendment will have the effect of permitting the temporary establishment of a veterinary clinic out of 3 office trailers for a period of 18 months.
Okay, thank you. Josh Morgan from Morgan Planning and Development, Inc., on behalf of Dr. Jill Gordon, owner, is present and will provide an overview of the application. Josh, come on up.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. My name is Josh Morgan. Thank you, Mayor Clark. My name is Josh Morgan. I'm a registered professional planner from the firm Morgan Planning and Development. We're based in Aurelia. I've had multiple files in Ramara over the years of varying shapes and sizes. As Mayor Clark mentioned, I'm here today representing Dr. Jill Gordon and Mr. Bill Bowman, the owners and operators of the Weshego Vet Clinic. So we're here today, as Ms. Connors mentioned, to speak to a temporary use zoning bylaw application, which would permit the establishment of a veterinary clinic for a period of 18 months. And that 18-month permission would give us time to get the permanent zoning bylaw amendment approved and also to work our way through the site plan approval process with the vision, of course, of building a permanent vet clinic on the subject property. And I think members of council and members of the public are likely aware that the Weshego Veterinary Clinic is already established in Weshego, just a couple of 100 meters to the northwest on the corner of Rammer Road and 169. They've been issued notice that they must vacate their existing clinic, their existing property. And that's really why this is such an urgent application. And that's why we're here today seeking a temporary use bylaw while we work our way through the permanent zoning bylaw amendment process. And I will note that we have already submitted our permanent zoning bylaw amendment application. We submitted that in either late January or early February. So we have begun that process to establish a permanent permission here. This is just sort of a bridge. Okay, so I just wanted to provide that context to you. So I'll put my glasses on here and just speak to the location of the property. So as you can see on the screen, the property is located on the east side of Rammer Road. I would say maybe 200 or 300 meters south of Highway 169. The property is currently vacant. And we're speaking of 8213 Rammer Road for the municipal address. The property is currently vacant. It's approximately 1 hectare in size. It has a lot frontage of about 23 meters. And the owners of the property also own the property immediately to the south, which is 8207 Rammer Road. So there's actually 2 properties that Dr. Jill and Bill own, but this application applies only to 8213, which is the property to the north. Access to 8213 is proposed over 8207, so over the property to the south, which they own, and we have already completed and will soon be submitting a consent application to establish an easement over Bill and Jill's land to the south to provide access to 8213. Okay, and I think just for context, maybe we could flip to slide, maybe the 3rd slide, I believe it is, or maybe it would be the 4th slide, actually. That one there. And just for council and the public's information, we've submitted a lot grading plan prepared by a professional engineer. We've submitted a septic system design to the township last week. The septic system permit will be submitted either this morning or tomorrow. We have submitted an environmental impact study or an environmental constraints assessment. The site was walked by an environmental consultant in the spring of 2020, or I guess it was the summer of 2024. And the limits of the natural heritage features on the property were identified through that site walk and have now been flagged and delineated on the property. We also submitted a traffic impact study prepared by Tatham Engineering to assess the impacts, if any, on the adjacent road network, being Ramara Road. And of course, a planning justification report has also been submitted. So the purpose of the temporary bylaw application is to seek approval to permit the use of the lands for a veterinary clinic, which will allow Bill and Jill to move their clinic to the new property. The veterinary clinic, the temporary veterinary clinic will include the establishment of 3 office trailers placed adjacent to one another to be used temporarily for office space for the clinic. There will also be a gravel parking area and a septic system, and a future slide will show you how that will be laid out. The temporary trailers will be serviced by a new septic bed and a well. The application requests that the use be permitted for 18 months, which will allow sufficient time for the previously submitted zoning bylaw amendment application to be approved. I expect and hope to actually be in front of council sometime, perhaps in August or September, with the temporary zoning bylaw amendment for a decision of council. The development area has been sufficiently set back from the natural heritage features, which were identified through the environmental impact study, and the lot grading plan submitted in support of the application demonstrates that no negative impacts to the stormwater on adjacent properties will occur. Next slide, please. So this slide illustrates the temporary site plan that we're seeking approval for. So you'll see access. You'll see the access which we're proposing, which will come through 8207. So the other property owned by the applicants, providing access to 8213. And then you'll see the parking area, and you'll see the 3 office trailers, which will be connected to one another in the northwest corner of the site. And you'll see the proposed septic bed there. So the area in green, that's the developable area. Okay. When I say the developable area, I mean the area that has been, that is outside of any natural heritage features or the setbacks required to protect those features. So that area in green is the area where, essentially development can occur responsibly. Next slide, please. So we wanted to illustrate, just for the sake of council and members of the public, where the permanent building will be. Okay, so this is not for consideration today, but I wanted to sort of illustrate that that the temporary office trailers in the northwest corner, how they will relate to the location of the permanent building. Okay, and this plan also shows the septic bed, which will be installed only once. The septic bed to be installed in support of the temporary use bylaw will also be used for the permanent vet clinic. Of course, it's an expensive thing to install. And it's hard to see on the screen here, but to the north of the parking area, you'll see like a little box on the plan. What that is a stormwater detention area. So that stormwater detention area will be installed in support of the temporary development, but also will service the permanent development of the site. So it was important to put all of these pieces on a plan to illustrate to council and the public, because we needed you to understand that this site can be developed not only temporarily, but permanently and stay outside of those environmental setbacks that have been established by the professionals. Next slide, please. I won't spend much time on this. Really, this is the lot grading plan, which has been submitted in support of the temporary use bylaw applications. This was prepared by a professional engineer, of course. It shows the parking area, the temporary office trailers, the stormwater infrastructure, and the permanent septic bed. And this is, I'm sure, under review or soon to be under review by the municipality's engineers. Next slide, please. So the property, this is important, I should have mentioned it earlier in my presentation. The property is zoned hamlet and designated hamlet in the township's official plan and zoning bylaw. And that's important because that means that the property is within the Washego settlement area. So we're not here asking to establish a vet clinic in a rural area or an agricultural area or an environmentally protected area. These properties are both within the Washego settlement area, which is exactly where commercial uses and clinics such as this are meant to be located. So from a provincial planning policy perspective, from a county planning policy perspective, and from the township's official plan perspective, this is exactly the type of property where vet clinics are supposed to go. Next slide, please. So the policy review. So the township's official plan, section 7.5, contains policy direction for temporary use applications and states that the following criteria is to be considered for temporary use. So essentially, these are the rules or the criteria which council must consider and an applicant when considering a temporary use bylaw application. So the first is that the use is clearly transitory in nature and would be authorized for up to 3 years. So we're seeking permission for an 18-month permission. The use is compatible with existing and proposed land uses in the area. I believe that because the property is located in the settlement area of Washago, that alone, I think, confirms that this is a compatible land use. That the requirements for temporary buildings or structures are according to building standards. So as I think Ms. Connor mentioned, these temporary office trailers will require a building permit. So that will satisfy that criteria. The impacts on adjacent roads, access, and parking requirements are minimal. Our traffic impact assessment confirms that this vet clinic on this property, either temporary or permanent, will have no negative impact on the county road. We have had communications with the county's transportation department. The county is comfortable with this application, and they're also comfortable with the location of the entrance, not only from a temporary perspective, but also from a permanent perspective. I don't have that in a formal letter that I can present to you yet, but I do have that in email correspondence, and we have submitted for the entrance permit application. I was last communicating with the county on Friday, just last week. Infrastructure servicing requirements are existing. This property is going to be serviced by private well and septic. Alterations to topography shall be limited in order that using the property is possible as designated and zoned. So that's really what our lot grading plan is for. Okay, the lot grading plan speaks to the topography of the site and illustrates how the property will be appropriately developed, and that there is general conformity with the provisions of this plan. This plan meaning the township's official plan. And again, this property is within the Washago settlement area, which is exactly where these types of uses are meant to occur. Concluding remarks, please, next slide. It's my opinion that the application conforms to the intent and policies of the Township of Ramara official plan, specifically section 7.5, which is the section that I've just reviewed in my previous slide. Approval of the temporary use bylaw application will provide a bridge allowing the Washago Vet Clinic to operate on the subject property while the permanent zoning bylaw amendment is put in place. And this will allow the clinic to continue to service its customer base without interruption. As I mentioned, the application requests the use for 18 months. The traffic impact study submitted in support of the application concludes that development can be appropriately serviced by the existing transportation network, and the proposed development will not impact the natural heritage features which are present and adjacent to the present on the property and adjacent to the property. I'll just finish with a couple of more comments here. As Ms. Connors mentioned, over the course of the weekend and even as of this morning, when I left my office, we had received 15 or 16 letters of support. And those speak to this temporary use bylaw application, and I think I can confidently say would also extend to the permanent zoning bylaw amendment application, which we'll be bringing before you in the next couple of months. I did want to note that there was a letter which I was circulated last week from Miss Kara Cooper. It was a well-written and well-thought-out letter, and she expressed, Miss Cooper expressed some concerns regarding grading and the impact that stormwater might have on her property. She expressed concerns regarding the potential impact to the natural environment. She asked questions about how biohazards are dealt with. So I'm going to speak to those three things. I believe that Miss Cooper's grading concerns have been addressed through the submission of our lot grading plan, which of course the municipality itself is going to review and make certain that it's acceptable. If the municipality is not satisfied with the lot grading plan, of course they will tell us, and our civil engineer will need to adjust the plan in order to satisfy the municipality. In terms of Miss Cooper's environmental concerns, as I mentioned, we had an environmental consultant on the site in 2024. The limits of those features have been identified. The setbacks to those features have been established, and those setbacks have been staked and flagged on the property, and no work has occurred or will occur within those setbacks. And the comment about biohazards, I was just speaking with Dr. Jill before I walked up here, and the biohazards from a veterinary clinic are contained by the clinic, and there's a company registered through the province that is contracted to remove biohazards from the site. So So these things are not going into the septic system or are not leaching out into the property at all. They're professionally contained and disposed of. That's all I have for you today. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have or questions from the public. Thank you.
Well, before I open it up, Jennifer Strong, the township planner, will also provide a background of the planning process to date.
Good morning, everyone. So 8213 Rem Road is a 2.56 acre parcel within the settlement area of Wishago. So Wishago is a hamlet, which is the partially or non-service settlement area. And in this case, this is a non-serviced area. The hamlet designation and zoning allows for small-scale commercial uses, which a veterinary clinic generally falls under. But the hamlet zoning is a little bit unique. You need to have a specific number suffix next to the zoning symbol in order to allow for that, which requires an amendment. Veterinary clinic is also a defined term in the zoning bylaw, so the zoning bylaw amendment is required whether it's permanent or temporary. As Josh had discussed, the applicant did submit a zoning bylaw amendment application in January of this year. During the pre-consultation, we noticed some wetland-like features on the aerial photography, so we asked for a constraints map. Then when we received the constraints map, we needed to have some more information about stormwater in order to deem the application complete, just because the developable area was quite restricted, so we just wanted to see the numbers. Then in May, Dr. Gordon had reached out because she had found out that her lease had expired and she needed to vacate the property within June of sometime this year, right? So we were looking for options on how to sort of transition her from her existing site, which is, as Josh said, 200 meters to the north at 8272 Ramara Road, to allow for a transition period to bring it down to this other property. 8272 Ramara Road also received a zoning bylaw amendment in 2006 to allow for the establishment of the vet clinic, and the amendment that they will be coming for is almost identical to that one. So the veterinary clinic will be in 3 trailers. It is for 18 months. The Planning Act does allow for up to 3 years. So if the 18 months for some reason needs to be extended, they can come back with justification to extend it if required. Although they're fairly confident that the 18 months is enough time for the zoning, the site plan, and the building of the actual structure, but that option is there. The application is supported by, as you saw, concept plans for both the temporary and the permanent developments, lot grading, septic design, traffic study, environmental constraints map, and the planning justification report. The temporary zoning requires a 90-meter setback from the rear yard for the trailers to make sure that we're protecting those environmental features. They're also staked, and they'll have erosion and sediment control fencing along them as well, just to keep everything out of there. So we obviously also received the comments from Mrs. Cooper at 8221 Ramara Road. The concerns were grading, fill, waste, property values, and privacy. The lot grading plan has been reviewed and is currently being reviewed, as well as the septic design was reviewed by our Deputy Chief Building Official, and she confirmed that it meets on the lot grading plan. There is, in terms of privacy, there is a requirement in the zoning bylaw for a buffer strip of 2 meters between non-residential and residential uses. So that will need to be established on the north side of the property. That will be done as part of the building permit process. We also received comments from a Mr. Todd Blair, who lives at 7744 Singing Pines Trail. He just wanted to make sure that the drainage course that runs across this property, that his property benefits from, wouldn't be obstructed, because in the past there's been beaver dams that have kind of blocked it and it's caused flooding on his property. This drainage course is within the natural area of the property, so there will be no development on that section. We also received the 15 letters of support yesterday and some this morning. The letters are all uniquely written, and they support the continuation of the veterinary clinic without disturbance to the service and supporting the amendment. Many of the letters from residents are actually in the neighborhood within the direct vicinity, which I think helps support that it's a compatible use. And as a summary, just so I don't have to read them all, but for a summary, the submissions note that they rely on the business, that the application meets the needs of the community. There's a note that there's, I guess, difficulty in getting veterinary services in this area. So this industry is really important. It is an essential time to keep the business open, as spring is a busy time for pet care, for fleas, and those types of things. There's a fear that if the amendment is not passed, the business will be lost not only locally, but just in general. And many voicing great service and a true appreciation for the location. There was a shared desire in the submissions to step up and support the community for what they call a vital service, such as this clinic. And they're all urging council to support the approval of the amendment. So Section 7.5 of the current OP, which Josh spoke to, speaks about those 7 factors that need to be reviewed when council is considering allowing for a temporary zoning bylaw amendment. Staff agreed that the 7 factors have been addressed. The amendment provides time for the veterinary clinic to continue while the owners work to finalize the technical and land use matters for the permanent solution for the site. And it really is a good solution for business continuity. As reviewed in staff report BP 2125, the proposed temporary use amendment as written is supported by all planning policies. So the next steps would be that staff would recommend, based on no outstanding concerns being received today, that the bylaw be forwarded to the Director of Building and Planning for approval, and that this decision be ratified today at council. Bylaw 2024.16 was passed on March 25th of 2024, and it delegates the approval of minor zoning bylaw amendments to the Director of Building and Planning. There are specific requirements and criteria that need to be met in order for the bylaw to be sent to the director for approval. The first one is that an official plan amendment cannot be required, which in this case is not. The second is that a draft plan of subdivision is not required. Again, in this case, we don't need that. And that any concerns raised by the public, staff, or agencies are resolved. So it would be staff's opinion that the concerns raised by Ms. Cooper and by Mr. Blair will both be addressed during construction by both the grading, buffer strip, building permit reviews, etc. And in terms of the biohazards, we've learned that there's a specific company that takes those away. So due to the time constraints by the external factors impacting the vet clinic, delegating the bylaw will avoid Dr. Gordon having to wait for an additional council meeting for council to pass the bylaw, which will allow her to keep the clinic open without closure or interruption. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the public will now have an opportunity to speak. When providing your comments, please ensure that you state your full name and address for the record. Any members of the public wish to come up? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Oh, yes, come on up, Ben. No, not for a public meeting. Just need your name and address for the record, Glenn. Oh, push the button there, Glenn. In the middle. There you go.
There we go. Glenn Hudgen, 1161 Lawrence Drive, Washago, Ontario. Longtime client of Jill's veterinary services. We've had a number of pets that gone through there. I'm 100% in support of you approving her keeping her business going at this new location. My point is, what makes a great community? We all do our part to make a great community. I've been doing the best I could do, doing it through the art club, pickleball, parades. I've been all involved in. I've done all I can do. I can't operate a vet clinic. I will never be a veterinarian. And I'm very happy that Jill is a veterinarian and is business-minded enough to keep a business going in town. So I really believe it's fantastic for the community. Now, there's other bylaw things you guys have to figure out. You're great at that. But from a community standpoint, this is a service we really need. So I hope you do your best to recognize that and approve whatever you need to approve to keep our business going. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Glenn. Any other comments from the public? Not seeing any. I'll open it to council. Questions or comments from council? Councillor Goff.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Morgan, what's going to happen to the trailers after the construction in the building? New building's going to be.
You, Mayor, to Councillor Huff. That's a great question. Let me just see if I can ask Dr. Jill if she knows the answer to that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Perfect. Dave, go ahead, Councillor Snotch.
To Mr. Morgan.
You might as well stay up here, Josh. Yeah.
I have 3 questions that are related to you. The first one is just a very quick one. There are no residential properties on either one of these lots, correct, right now?
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Snatch, they're both zoned to permit residential development, but they're both vacant.
Okay, thank you. The biohazards that you were referring to, is that a voluntary thing of the operation, or is that mandated by the Ontario government or some other authority?
Mandated.
Mandated. Thank you. And the last one I have is just the street access. Why did you have street access going across the other property rather than directly into your own property?
That's a great question. Yeah. I think partially it's due to there's quite a significant rock, sort of wall rock face there along that stretch of Ramara Road. And these lots were created by consent. I think it was in like 1979. And when they were created by consent, the county established that they didn't want access directly to 8213, that the county wanted access over 8207. And in fact, they wanted access even further south on 8207. But we've been communicating with the county over the last number of weeks, and essentially, I suppose informally, I'll say, reached an agreement that the entrance can be shifted to the north side of 8207, which is where it's shown in our plans. And it's generally agreed that that is the most appropriate location for the entrance when you look at the frontage of both lots together. The place where the entrance has been identified is the most appropriate place from a sightline perspective and also just from a topographic perspective. So we need to establish an easement over 8207, which will go to the Committee of Adjustment. That paperwork is already being prepared and will be submitted in the next couple of weeks, kind of thing.
Dave.
Question for Jen Stone. When does this is I don't know what it is considered as vacant or rural or whatever, even though it's within the hamlet, but this would obviously affect the tax base and these would be commercial, right? Once they start operating?
That would likely be a better question for Treasury, but I believe, yes, it would be taxed as a commercial tax rate, but
Manal, can you please expand on that as to whether or when this property will be considered commercial? Is that the date that they start operating business, or is that something that MPAC has to deal with as these building permits roll in?
So that would be impact to determine the assessment in the tax class. So I can't answer that.
I believe when they do change it, though, it's retroactive to the time that the zoning's changed. Like they may not even catch it for a year, but then it's usually retroactive back to the day when the business
so
was changed.
impact can go back 2 years and the current year, so 3 years in total.
Okay. And my last question is for Jen again. If the period goes on and they do get an extension for another 18 months after this, what authorities the township have to, what does the township do if this continues beyond the 3 years? Is it an automatic? Do they come in and apply again, or do you order them to remove the trailers, or what happens in the situation where it gets beyond the 3 years?
Yeah.
So the approval is requested for 18 months. If the 18 months isn't feasible and they get to a point and there's external factors, they would come back to council and ask for an extension. We would write a report. We would ask for them to demonstrate that they need the extension. Then it would be up to council to decide whether or not the extension could be granted. If council decides not to extend it, then the structures need to be removed from the property. There's no legal non-conforming status for a temporary amendment. The main thing is when you're doing the temporary amendments is to demonstrate that the use is transitory. And in this case, they have demonstrated that there's the ability to have the trailers operate and construct the permanent clinic. So that it should, we're not in a situation where they would come back and say, oh, we can't build the structure, right? We wanted to make sure that the permanency was going to be in the building and not the trailers. So it would be up to council's discretion at that point, and they would have to demonstrate the need to extend it if required.
Thank you. I have no other questions, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And you did ask mine about the driveway. Thank you. We got that rectified. Any other questions from council? Not seeing any. I'm still seeing none from the public. So if any person wishes to receive notice of the passing of the amendment, please forward your address and phone number by email to the Township Planning Department at planning@ramara.ca or complete the sign-in sheet at the door. If you do not provide your full name and address, you may not receive notice. The township is the approval authority for zoning bylaw amendment applications. Members of the public who have provided oral or written submissions with respect to the application may be eligible to appeal or participate in the appeal of a decision of council of the Township of Ramara. This concludes the public meeting, and any comments from the public or council, if noted, will be considered before making the decision on this matter. Thank you. Now, I don't have a motion at this time. I do not have a motion at this time, so thank you. Next, I have deputations, and hey, today is medical day, but now we're switching gears. So I have Terry Diney, is it, and Carmen Stumple here of Aurelia Soldier Memorial Hospital regarding an update to council on the hospital redevelopment. And you still have that smile on your face, Carmen. Come on up.
Thank you very much, Mayor. It's a pleasure to be here today. It's a pleasure to extend the theme of access to healthcare for all species. We'll focus on the humans at this point. It's my pleasure to be here on behalf of Aurelia Soldiers Memorial Hospital. We thought it was an opportune time to provide an update and some of the more relevant elements and strategies that we've achieved over the last year and where we're going into the future. Next slide, please. So a little bit about who we are. Many of you know Aurelia Soldiers. We play multiple roles in the healthcare sphere. We are hyper local. We have a very busy emergency department, birth, surgeries, all the typical things you would anticipate in a community hospital. At the same time, we are very much a regional hospital. We provide regional services to women and children, to mental health, kidney care, dialysis, orthopedic trauma, all sorts of different elements. So we have the position, the privilege of being your local community hospital, but also a little bit larger so that we can provide access to the vast majority of services that any individual would require. Next slide. To start, it wouldn't be a presentation without acknowledging the winter we've had and an acknowledgement of our teams. So we had a very busy February with a snowstorm that paralyzed the city of Aurelia and the surrounding areas. And that was followed up in March and April with the ice storm, which created all kinds of havoc. I am really proud to say our team responded in ways we never missed a beat emergency services wise. We never had our doors closed. We had a brief delay in elective surgery, which was made up within a week of restoring power. So the teams came through in a variety of different ways, and it was something to see when it was on top of an already busy schedule, having to adapt to other changing circumstances with the crises we've had over the last several months. Next slide. So what we have been able to achieve, our births continue to be well above the 1,000 births per year mark. Surgeries, we are able to essentially double the number of orthopedic surgeries over the last several years to meet the growing needs of our community. Orthopedic surgery was one of our wait times, which we had the longest delays in, and we took a very active approach to increasing volumes there. We have grown. We've added over 60 beds over the last 5 years to the facility, and that is a direct reflection of the growth in Aurelia, in Ramara, and all the surrounding townships and Ramara First Nation. The one statistic I will highlight in this is there were 402 individuals that benefited from our Couchiching Health at Home. It's a program where we take patients who are in hospital, we transition them into their home with elevated high-intensity supports for a range of 4 to 16 weeks. On any given day, there's over 100 individuals cared for by hospital staff in their homes. That's 100 fewer hospital beds required to provide care for these individuals. It is an incredible story. It's an incredible service. And we think it's a service that needs to continue to expand, as we know, A, people want to be in their homes receiving care, and B, it's a far more effective and efficient way to deliver care. Next slide. So what can we expect going forward? Why is this so important? This is data from the Ministry of Finance projecting out over the next 20 years of what the population will look like. I will give you a minute so you can do the math to see where you land in this graph. I know I've done the math myself. We see a growing proportion of those over the age of 65, and especially a high growth in those over the age of 85. And as this was acknowledged as the month for seniors and older adults, we need to be planning for this going forwards. We have a growing population and a growing seniors population. That, and if we go to the next slide, when you match our demographic data with some of our healthcare data. So we have more people living longer and living with more chronic diseases. So the average person is surviving with more chronicity, and all those factors are all very positive. So we are doing a better job with longevity. People are living with more diseases, but those two factors combined have an increase in the healthcare demands that are required of hospitals and healthcare services. On top of that, we know in these very uncertain economic times, finances, economy, social determinants, they all play a role in our health. And therefore, we know in the long run, with downturns in economics, we also see an additive effect to healthcare demands. So combined, we see all these factors going forward. We need to be planning well in advance to be able to address these concerns for the communities we serve. Next slide. So what have we done? I was glad to hear there was some activity at the Couchiching Family Health Team on the health fair. That is a lot of the work that's being embedded within the Couchiching Ontario Health Team. And I just put up a few different headlines. This is just from the last year alone. We were able to open up a chronic disease management clinic at the Couchiching Family Health Team for those that have chronic diseases like chronic lung disease and chronic heart disease. We're also able, through the support of the county, in the county building on West Street, open up a pediatric clinic 1 day a week within Ontario Works, so we can meet families who are trying to access care, who traditionally have more challenges accessing care, to be able to reach that pediatric clinic. And we also are building more and more access points to those that don't have family doctors. And we know access to family doctors is a concern, and we are addressing both the root cause, which is more primary care providers, as well as providing options for those that don't have a family doctor. Next slide. In primary care for the hospital has become a very important strategy. And you would think, what does the hospital, why does the hospital concern itself with primary care? Well, it's primary care providers that provide a lot of the hospitalist work within a hospital. So we actually need to have family doctors within our walls, and we know good prevention is what keeps people out of hospitals. So we want to be proactive in that stance. So what we've been able to do, in great timing with the primary care action team, we just recently announced a relationship with the University of Toronto to form a family practice teaching unit. This is really exciting. We've always had 2 residents in our hospital. As of July 1st, we'll have 6 residents in our hospital. As of the year after, we'll have 8 residents training in our hospital, living in our community. They will be seeing patients as they learn. So there's a component there of practice. And we believe, and statistics will show, they will stay once they come here. So we feel this is our best opportunity for primary care recruitment. They'll work within our teams. The hospital is involved because not only do they need to work in the community with primary care providers, they need exposure to things like surgery, to birthing, to mental health, pediatrics health. So we will provide a lot of that service. We will work with our partners. You will hear more about this. This is an incredibly exciting program to be a part of, and our relationship with the University of Toronto Faculty of Medicine just formalizes it one step further. Next slide, please. So I mentioned earlier, we've also provided increases in surgical activity. And it's important that we address the volumes that are required and the wait times that exist. At the same time, really proud of our team to be acknowledged internationally for the quality of the surgical services. So you can increase volume, you can do more of it, but you need to do it with a high level of quality. And that's what we were able to achieve last year. So combined, again, part of our strategy is the quality of care, the volume, the efficiency, all those factors go into play when we're looking at program design. Next slide. So it begs the question, what's new? And this is, I believe, the reference mail to my smile. It hasn't It's been around for about 2 weeks now. We had the privilege of hosting the Premier, the Deputy Premier and Minister of Health, Minister Dunlop, Attorney General Downey, and others at Lakehead University. It was the official announcement of a new hospital. So it's a planning grant, which means we will proceed with planning of a new hospital. We also at the same time took the opportunity to announce the site, which is now common knowledge. We will be working with Lakehead University in next steps of planning. They have a parcel of land between the university, current university, and Rotary Place, so that we will be looking at that site as a preferred site. So the announcement itself for a new hospital is significant. It's been acknowledged in the budget, the spring 2025 budget. So that is a clear signal from the government to proceed, and we'll speak a little bit about how we will do that. I do want to talk a little bit about the site. That was the new news of 2 weeks ago. If we can go to our next slide. So I want to speak to the site selection process because there were some questions as to how we approach this. Over the last year and a half, over a year and a half ago, we put out an expression of interest for anyone that had very basic one-pager. If you have 25 acres of land that's relatively flat and you want to work with a hospital as a potential site, let us know. So we received notices from the public. We canvassed different agencies and organizations. We proactively went out to those that had, who we were aware of, but it was open to everyone. We took those groups that came forward and we went through an evaluation process. We had two major components to the evaluation process. It had a technical component. With anything architectural planning wise, you need certain features that need to be accounted for. There was also a community component. We asked our community a couple of years ago in a survey and received over 1,100 responses. What's most important to you? That question was very strategic because picking sites, if you ask 100 people, you get a variety of different answers. But if you understand what's most important to people, then you can evaluate what you have against those criteria. And we're able to see that it was clear from the communities that access to highways, access and parking were the key elements. Intuitively, we know that people that are accessing acute care, if you're truly ill, it's usually you're being driven by car or by ambulance is typically what we notice at the hospital. All this evaluation had some oversight, and there was a site selection task force with board members, with community leaders, with committee participants in it. We had a City of Aurelia planning expert to help guide the process. This entire group oversaw every step. They had input into the questions we asked our evaluators. We had an expert architect in hospital builds that did the evaluation. The committee was satisfied that we addressed all the concerns, all the questions, and the evaluation was a sound evaluation. And once complete, it went to our board for final approval. So we can say with confidence that the decision-making process, the process had great oversight by a variety of different individuals. As you all know, these issues are confidential in terms of land negotiations, so they all did sign non-disclosure agreements so that they could participate in confidence, and they had access to all the questions along the way. We were thrilled with the result. It satisfies the criteria, all the technical and community criteria, and then some. Working with Lakehead means we can look at programming. It makes Lakehead a more viable university by having a major employer next door, not only in health, but our finance department, our HR department. We can provide all the business acumen type services and programming that we can be a great partner to each other and make each other even better. Next slide, please. So that speaks to the location. We've also, at the same time with this planning grant, re-engaged our partners. We know that building a hospital is going to be very expensive. It's some of the most expensive infrastructure there is to build. We want to take that responsibility seriously. We've already reached out to partners in other communities in the region that are also doing construction projects to see how we can work together. If we standardize the planning process, if we standardize some of the construction details, here's just a couple of examples. you reduce risk through standardization, you reduce uncertainty in projects. We can get more companies interested in tendering for these very, very large projects. Working with Infrastructure Ontario, they see the value of working together, planning once for multiple hospitals in sequence, and that way we can make this the most cost-effective project. Yes, it will be expensive, but how can we do it in the best possible way? I know our community wants a state-of-the-art building, but we want to do so in a responsible way. And that's what we're committed to by working with our partners and keeping all the project costs to as low as possible. Next slide. I often get asked what happens to the current site. We have worked with Infrastructure Ontario to see what the best and highest and best use of the current site. There will be 2 buildings we will keep out of the 8 we currently have. The other 6 are long past their best before date in terms of buildings, and they are now costing us more money to maintain. So with those 2 buildings in place, we will maintain ambulatory services in those buildings. Will maintain community-based services in the current location that don't need to be attached to an acute care facility. And around it, Infrastructure Ontario tells us they can accommodate up to 600 housing units, whether it's supportive housing, whether it's retirement living communities. Because it's accessible to healthcare and outpatient areas, it could take many different forms, but we feel that location is very well suited for housing intensification as it is walkable to downtown Orillia. Next slide. Again, I'm proactively getting to the questions that most people ask me. How do we pay for a new hospital? And this is a simple breakdown of how it works in terms of the funding of hospitals. I very much simplified it, but it gives you a sense of how we approach it. Essentially, the hospital, the province pays for 90% of all the major construction costs. And the government, the hospital or local share includes 10% of the construction and 100% of the equipment. Now, the hospital already pays for equipment. We've installed CT scanners, we've installed MRIs. We'll need to do that again in the new building. So when you factor in the 10% of the cost plus the equipment, it works out to about 25% local share. So of whatever total it is, generally 25%, give or take, is what needs to be raised locally. I don't attach a number to this yet because it keeps changing. And as soon as you commit to a number, it changes. So we look at it from a percentage, but we know the number is large and there's no shying away from that. When you look at the 25%, we call it local share because there's a number of opportunities for fundraising. So the hospital raises money towards its own replacement. We have been doing that for years. I'll speak to that. The foundation, our foundation raises money. Just yesterday, we had a great foundation event, Soldiers Ride. If it wasn't for the high winds, low temperatures and rain, it would have been a great event. It was a great event, but it's events like those that help raise money for a new hospital. And we look to our municipal partners as well for fundraising. And from the municipal side, there's 2 different streams. There's one we work through the county and just recently presented to us on behalf of the Simcoe County Hospital Alliance. So we don't go to all the municipalities. We go to the county on behalf of the county council. Next slide. From a hospital perspective, we've identified this for many years, that we need to be fiscally responsible to save money for a new hospital. And we have been running a surplus every year to do so. And I can say, because last week we approved our financials for this past fiscal year ending March 31st. We ended with a surplus. Our balance is now at 35 million, no debt. That is, we are deliberately saving money to put towards a new facility. And that's embedded within our financial health strategy. I will tell you, it is not easy in this environment to run even a small surplus in healthcare. It requires a lot of attention. I give our team a lot of credit for that and the commitment they have to thinking towards the future in making the difficult decisions so that we can continue to save towards a new hospital. Next slide. You may recall some of the signage on the hospital if you're driving by. The start of something new. In July of last year, we had the Weber Foundation donate $3.3 million to soldiers. Among many other donations, it was an incredible event. Mr. Weber came to Soldiers and we committed that we would use all of that money towards a new hospital. So that kickstarted our campaign. We will be raising money. It is a long process. We have, just like buying a new house, you have 30 years to amortize it. You have time in the design and planning phase to raise money. You have time after you move in to raise money as all part of the process of fundraising. So we do look at this as a longer time horizon. So my key message is, as long as we're planning ahead, as long as we're starting now, we can do this, we will do this, and provide the communities we serve with the healthcare they deserve. Next slide. And I'll end on this note, with all this excitement, new hospital, expanding services, expanding beds, getting into the educational component, we are taking this opportunity to revisit our strategy. We've had a strategic plan in place for the last 4 years. It's served us very well. We see really great things into the future of Aurelia, and we're engaging all kinds of community organizations, all kinds of groups. We're reaching out to all municipalities, Ramara First Nation, to ensure that we're hearing from people. And again, we ask the simple question, when developing our strategy, if you go to the next slide, what's most important to you? When it comes to Soldiers Memorial Hospital, we continually ask that question to find out where we need to be focusing, where we need to be putting our energy and our strategy. So with that, Mayor Clark, it's again my pleasure to be here today, and happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Carmen, and a great presentation. I'm glad you mentioned the Hospital Alliance. Yeah, you were at county a week ago, and we know we're going to have to sit down. There's a lot of asks coming in, so that's going to be reevaluated with county council, because yeah, with this hospital and some of the other builds that announced, it's putting quite a strain on everybody. Yeah. And now the new facility, can you land a helicopter on site? That'll be part of the design.
So we're debating that. Currently, we have access to the OPP helipad, which serves us quite well. There's never really an option on our current site, so we can consider whether there will be a site there. Distance to the OPP isn't that far.
Yeah, it's right across. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll factor in both and take a look at it in more detail to see, as part of our functional programming. We are working as part of the next level of design is the orientation of the space to ensure that not only the hospital fits in, but it also optimizes the space for the university as well, so that we don't, they have lots of land, but we want to use it wisely.
Yeah, and grow together. I like the location because, again, the highway access is good, and you'll never have large scale development to the south, because you know, you want to keep the hospitals, believe it or not, on the outskirts of the town, because when you're trying to get emergency vehicles in and out, you know, Soldiers is now basically downtown. The city has grown around it, and it makes it very difficult for those emergency vehicles. So you will always have good access at this location. So questions from council? Councillor Fisher.
That was actually what I was going to touch on, Mayor. I've had the pleasure of speaking with you, Carmen, a few times this past week, actually. And I just wanted, I know the answer because we've talked about the answer, but I wanted to give you the opportunity as why, because that's the one question that I'm getting after the new announcement that I've been hearing residents in Aurelia, our residents. So I wonder why they chose out of town when people who might have challenges with transportation to be able to walk if it was still in a downtown location. So I know the mayor brought it up about close. I didn't know if you wanted to take a second just to touch on that a little more.
So we feel it's really important to maintain a hub of activity at the current site. So there will still be access to healthcare, and probably the most likely healthcare you would be walking to. So that is why we wanted to ensure that hub, and I use this as an example, no decisions have been made. We know our emergency department, we've outgrown. The volumes, the acuity, we've outgrown our emergency department, but imagining that as a walk-in clinic, one can see the potential. So that's the image I would leave with you. We can still have access for those that need access. If you look at what we've done over the last 5 years, we've actually expanded to all corners of the region. We're looking at outreach to different areas. We're partnering with this community, with some of the providers through our physician recruitment group. We have clinics at West Street. Once we have a larger presence in West Ridge, we have outreach to the Lighthouse. Again, a population that doesn't easily access healthcare, but we go to those individuals rather than wait until they can get to us. And that model tends to work better for some of the more preventative actions. So we are looking at how do we improve our access while keeping our acute care services accessible, particularly for ambulance, et cetera, that tends to take care of the more higher acuity. Thank you.
Councillor Tuya.
Thank you. Through you, your worship. I'm just curious, will you be bringing the Cenotaph Monument with you to the new site, or does it say, oh, fantastic, in the spirit of Aurelia Soldiers Memorial?
So through Mayor Clark, we are in very active engagement with the Legion, and we've let it known that we will work with, like, whatever the Legion wants to do, we will work with them. The Cenotaph location where it sits now is on that ramp, which is not very accessible. The ramp itself going up to the main entrance is the cause of many falls and slips along in the wintertime. So that's one of our challenges. We want to make sure we honor that cenotaph. It's probably the biggest Remembrance Day is the biggest event we hold at the hospital. So we want to honor that, and we will honor it with the Legion. Yeah.
Okay, Deputy Mayor, and then I'll come back to you, Councillor.
Thanks a lot, Carmen. I think it's pretty amazing for people that have been here their entire lives. I was born at Soldier Memorial Hospital. I remember when Emerge was on Mississauga Street. It was very tiny. It wasn't much bigger than this room. And it's just amazing to see our population size isn't growing, but the demand on our medical system has really grown a lot. One of the things that I noticed is you said expanding services. Any idea what those are? Will we see more addiction programs, a detox center, things like that? We're already relying on RVH for a lot of those things. Are we going to see that?
What I think you will see going into the future, and this leads more into our strategic plan, you'll see more partnerships and integration. You'll see the hospitals working in partnership with primary care around some of the preventative measures. Hospitals aren't typically known for the prevention, but we can provide a lot of supports to those that are providing that care. So we can help in a variety of different ways with some of the outpatient services by providing our supports, even technical supports, computer services, et cetera. So that's going to be part of where we look, is how we integrate to improving the work of the Couchiching Ontario Health Team. That's where we see a lot of opportunity for growth. So that's one element of service that I think you will see. Also, partnership with other hospitals. We need to be doing that more and more frequently in terms of how we bring programs together. So if you want to deliver a service, you need to do enough of it to be very good at it. And we will not deliver a service that we're not capable of doing because we just don't do it enough. So our focus will turn to partnership to make sure there's a seamless transfer there and back to get access to those services. So where we see growth, if you had asked me specifically, it's the hospital to home services is where, with higher acuity, it's being, whether it's remotely accessing patients where they live. Those are the kinds of services I think we want to see more of, because you will not be able to build hospitals fast enough if we're not caring for people in their homes better.
Through your worship, just to follow up, I think one of the programs that I started with the RVH and Simcoe Outreach Service at the time was a home detox program. So that would be what you're referring to, is to implement more programs like that.
So through the mayor, there are several different programs that are looking at substance use. Internally, we have what's called a pilot project with a substance use navigator out of our Emerge to help get access to those programs for individuals that are in crisis. So we see more of that happening, and better utilization and expansion of the community services. And for the hospital, that means we're at a moment in people's lives where they may need those services more than ever, and making sure that we can support that transition.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, that outreach program is phenomenal when you can get patients back in their homes. And I know our paramedics work with you on that program as well, and it's well received. Councillor Fisher.
Thank you. And this could just be my excitement, and you might not have an answer, or maybe there has been some consideration to this. Maybe you just don't want to tell me yet. It kind of plays off of what Councillor Tuya was just talking about with the cenotaph. Is there any consideration, and I hope not, is there any consideration in changing the name, or will it remain Soldiers Memorial Hospital, just because of how meaningful and impactful that is to the people in Aurelia and the surrounding communities?
Carmen.
So thank you through the mayor. We looked at our brand identity, our visual identity about 7 years ago. When we asked the community, how do you relate to our hospital? It's either Aurelia Soldiers or Soldiers Memorial. But the commonality was soldiers all the time. So what we did at that time was we actually kept the name. We amplified soldiers in our logo. It's much more prominent now. We turned it purple, which has its own identity. If you walk through our halls, especially on a Friday, everyone's wearing purple, which is fantastic. So we've done all of that. And what we tried to do is honor soldiers in a slightly different way. So trying to move away from honor the history, but look towards the future. What are the future soldiers going forward? It's a different mental image. So we're trying to honor our past, and you'll see that on our entrance. We have a proud history. We don't want to forget, but we can't live in it. We need to be looking forwards. We need to be innovative. We need to be providing state-of-the-art care, but we can do both. They're not mutually exclusive. So we've kept soldiers. We've modernized the look of it with the color, with the visual identity, and we have no plans on changing that.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Carmen. Look
Thank
forward to sitting down in the future when we see some more designs as well.
Yes.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
So with that, the open public forum, and I don't believe I had any folks that wanted to speak that registered with us. I'm gonna, why don't we do the council minutes here? So, Madam Clerk?
That the council meeting minutes dated May 26, 2025 be adopted as presented.
Okay, moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Fisher. Any questions arising from the minutes? Not seeing any. All in favor? That is carried. So why don't we reconvene in the committee of the whole? And then I'd like to take a break for council here. We'll reconvene. Do you want to go in camera and then break, or do you want to take a break and then come back and go into camera?
Take a break, your worship, and then go in camera.
That's what I thought, because you're kind of on a time limit when you're in camera. So why don't we have the motion to break in the committee of the whole, and then we'll take our break.
That's fine. That pursuant to section 239(4) of the Municipal Act 2001, SO 2001, C25, notice is hereby given that committee of the whole intends to hold a closed session meeting in the Richard P. Bates Room to deal with matters pursuant to section 239, 2D and E of the said act.
No, I was looking to go into camera or into committee first. So I'd need a motion to recess into committee, I think. Or in the committee of the whole? No, that one was to go in camera, was it not? Okay, moved by Councillor Tuyu, second by Councillor Fisher. All in favor? That is carried. And you want to do the other one after the break? Is that okay? So we'll take a break till 10 o'clock. Oh, sorry, 11 o'clock. Yeah, I mean, I forgot how to tell time. So we'll break till 11 o'clock, then we'll go back and we'll go into camera. Okay, we're back live. I'll look to my clerk just to confirm I have a quorum.
Thank you, your worship. We do have quorum and we have entered into closed session. Now we just need the motion to, enter into closed session. We've already entered into committee of the whole.
Right. Yes, so the motion to go into camera.
That pursuant to section 239 2D and E of the said act, committee of the whole now intends to hold a closed session meeting in the Richard P. Bates Room to deal with matters pursuant to section 239 2.
Thank you. Moved by Counselor Fisher, second by Counselor Goff. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. See you on the other side. screen or council chambers pop up. Okay, looks like we're back. Madam Clerk, if you can confirm that, please.
Thank you, your worship. We do have quorum.
Okay, and do you have some motions for us from the closed session?
Yes, I do. The closed session council resolution CR 5823 dated May 16, 2024 be received and that resolution CR 5823 become a public document.
Moved by, oh, I already had a mover and a seconder, and that was voted on in camera and carried.
The confidential report ID 2025 dated May 20, 2025 from the infrastructure department regarding a potential litigation be received.
And I believe it was voted on in camera and carried. All right. Okay. So now we are on to council reports. We have none. Board and committee reports, none. Council referrals. So the first one is zoning recommendation. Madam Clerk. Okay.
So this will be a departmental report. The report BP 2225 recommendation report zoning bylaw amendment file Z-7/242237 Concession Road 10 be received and that zoning bylaw amendment file Z-7/24 be approved and that the bylaw to enact zoning bylaw amendment file Z-7/24 be forwarded to the June 2nd, 2025 council meeting.
Yes, this was the one we had the public meeting on, I believe, about a month or so ago. Councillor Fisher. Moved by Councillor Fisher, second by Councillor Goff. Any discussion on the amendment? I don't think there was any negative at the public meeting on this one, so. Okay, that the motion be carried. Opposed of any? Not seeing any. That is carried. Thank you. We now have our revised annual wastewater reports.
Placed with the report ID 1925 as report ID 1925 incorporates and updates the information previously provided in report ID 1525. And that report ID 1925 titled Revised Annual Wastewater Performance Reports be received as information.
Okay, so moved by Councillor Tuohy, second by the Deputy Mayor. Questions or comments on the reports? Seen both versions. Excuse me, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And our development charges annual report, have a motion.
The report TR 0425 be received as information.
Let's put it on the floor. Councillor Goff, second by Councillor the Deputy Mayor. Questions or comments on the reserve? Councillor Snutch.
Yes, so this goes to our CFO. Do we have the word interest in there? So we're paying interest. The township is paying interest to the development fund of about $126,000. That's coming from us, right?
Manuel?
Correct. So it's just to record the interest that we're getting because we have that money set aside.
Also, we collect it from somewhere else.
No, so when people pay DCs, we're not using them, so they are like technically in our bank account, and that generates interest, and that's how we record it for the DCs.
Yeah. Any other questions on the? I'm not seeing any, so all in favor of receiving the information? That is carried. Rather short committee meeting today, so I'll have that we now rise. Now, do you need time to prepare any notes for the council? I don't.
No, your worship.
No, okay, if you can do our motion.
The committee of the whole do now rise and reconvene into council at 11:51 a.m. and that the recommendations of committee of the whole be referred to the next regular meeting of council to be held on June 23, 2025. And the following items shall be referred to the consent agenda later today. 10.1, 10.2, 11.1.
See which one's 10.1, 10.2, and 11.1. What was the one on the public meeting we had this morning? That's coming on the council agenda as well. So I think that was part of the suggestion. Yeah. Oh, that was in council. That meeting wasn't, yeah, so it wouldn't be coming from committee of the whole. So everybody understands what we're ratifying today? Did I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Tuohy. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We are on to the consent agenda.
The committee of the whole report dated June 2nd, 2025, agenda items 12.1 and 12.2 be adopted as presented.
So Oh, yeah, those are the ones from earlier today. Moved by Counselor Fisher, second by the deputy mayor. Questions or comments on those? Yes, Counselor Bell.
I just don't understand. So we carried different motions. So we're moving something from closed session to open session. I don't know where that is anymore because I don't really understand how this agenda is working. And I don't know how or when that should, I don't know what we're voting on or when. So I just need clarity. I have no idea what we're doing.
So we passed a closed session resolution. And then what we did was we passed another resolution that these items would be ratified at today's meeting. And so then we just ratified them.
So the two closed items are being ratified today, as well as, I thought there was one other. The public meeting for, was also ratified today, was it not, or was it done in council? Hang on. That was already in council, sorry. So the two items from in camera are being ratified today.
And on one, all we're doing is ratifying that we're taking it from closed to open.
Correct.
That's correct.
Correct. And two was the receiver's information. Okay, so on those two items, all in favor? Opposed of any? Not seeing any. Thank you. We always deal with committee of the whole that we were just in first. Now we move on to the committee of the whole from our previous meeting.
May 26th, that right?
Madam Clerk.
The Committee of the Whole report dated May 26, 2025, being items 12.1, 12.2, 12.3, and 12.4 be adopted as presented.
And that's the motion at the bottom. So everybody's read the motion and the recommendations. So that is our official plan. That is our Simcoe Street, 99 Simcoe Street, Lakeshore Drive, the servicing project that we discussed last week, and the final tax billing. So I need a mover and a seconder for the last committee of the whole, moved by Councillor Tuyu, second by the deputy mayor. Questions, Councillor Bell?
Yeah, the Lakeshore Drive servicing and Lagoon City servicing project, I would still want amended motions there. And so that also we put out to the public for engagement, and we haven't even had any discussion. So when are we having that discussion?
So what I'll do then is do you want to pull that one for a separate vote? Then if we have amendments, it should be pulled, should it not, Madam Clerk? Three. Yeah, so we'll pull that one, Councillor Bell, and then we'll have a discussion on any of the other items from the last committee of the whole. All in favor? That is carried. Okay, it's a lengthy motion, but you say you have some amendments, so you can read the motion or you can just present your amendments.
So I guess there's a couple of things. So procedurally, and I guess that's really where I'm coming from on this. When we carried this motion on January 16th of 2023, we did not carry that we were going to go to tender and then decide later if we wanted to receive the project. We also did not carry two separate projects. On January 16th of 2023, we chose option 3B, and all we did was approve. We didn't have any qualifications around that approval. We didn't say later on we're going to change our minds, or later on we're going to go to tender and then determine. That wasn't the motion. The carried motion that we made was that we were approving the Lakeshore Drive servicing project, and that included two things. It was water from Simcoe Road to concession 3, and then it was Lone Birch Maple Ridge on the sewer part. So a number of things have happened. Now we have a tender come back that has two different projects. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is the what's now being called Lagoon City Servicing includes the Simcoe as identified as a different street. And I don't know what that means because it was Maple Lone Birch Ridge. So are we now extending sewer somewhere on Simcoe Road that I don't know about, that wasn't in the original, what was called Lakeshore Drive servicing? So that's kind of two things. The third thing is we have to repeal the motion that we carried in the first place if we're not going to proceed with both pieces of the project, which was the carried motion. And then that would lead to, we need to be able to carry two motions related to the project as it was brought back to us on May 26th. So there's those two pieces right out of the gate. And then there's also the fact that we don't have this water servicing strategy for Lagoon City, Brecken, and South Ramara water systems report that's referred to in the May 26th report that apparently came back in January of 2025. So my first thing is I want to repeal the motion that was carried in 2023, which was CW 20.23 would need to be repealed. Then my amendments would include that, so it starts out that we report ID 1825 be received, that's fine. The next sentence should really say, and that the township enter into a contract with KJ Excavating Inc. in the amount of 2,316,689, including non-recoverable HSC to install Part A, low-pressure sanitary sewer works, Maple Trail, Lone Birch Trail, Ridge Avenue, and Simcoe Road. So it should match what the project is called in the tender. The rest stays the same, but then we need, and that Part B, Lakeshore Drive water main works remained under consideration for future development, so that we speak to it and defer it, but we don't negate it. And then my final thing would be, and that the water servicing strategy for Lagoon City, Brecken, and South Ramara water systems be returned at the next council meeting, so that council has the opportunity to consider that, because it in and of itself raises a number of other questions, but those would be separate to this motion.
Okay, well, I'll get clarification on the Simcoe Street. I saw, Laura, you had some concerns with where the sewers are going in.
Yes, there's just a portion of the force main that needs to be on Simcoe Street. The service area has not changed from the original proposal. So it's just clarifying which streets there will be sewers installed on. I believe there is one address on Simcoe Street that may be impacted, and I believe may already be connected. But it's not changing the area that was ever intended for it at all. And the second clarification, that servicing strategy was part of the CIP released on Friday.
Yeah, so the services strategy out there. So that could be, if somebody wants to bring that to council for discussion, so be it. In my opinion, everything else was incorrect. There's nothing needs to be repealed. This is the point where we either let the tender or we do not. This is the recommendation. It's pretty straightforward that we proceed with the sewers in this area. So is there any other questions or comments on the motion? She suggested one. I don't see. Is there any seconder? Not seeing one. So on the motion on the floor, I have a mover and a second already. All in favor? The sewer project, all opposed?
Well, again, you know, when we use language that it doesn't allow me to oppose, right? So, because I don't oppose the project, but I certainly oppose the motion the way that it's written. So,
in favor or opposed, Counselor? I need a vote.
Yeah, I'm sorry, are you shouting?
In favor or opposed, Counselor? I need a vote.
I don't appreciate being shouted at.
In favor or opposed, Counselor? I am marking you as opposed. You did not put your hand up.
I will be in favor of the project, but I don't need to be shouted at.
It is unanimous, and the project is unanimous. Thank you. I will carry on with my meeting. So that was the committee of the whole from last meeting. Correspondence for council direction.
That we receive and support the municipality of Kincardine correspondence dated May 14, 2025, as presented.
Can I have a mover and a seconder? This one is on Bill 5. Moved by Councillor Tuyu, second by Councillor Fisher. I actually will not support it. I don't know enough about the bill and what the changes are, but what I do know is we've been over 2 years trying to get a tile bed approved for the Bayshore spray system, and that cost has been burdened by the taxpayer, by the sewer users in both Brecken, Lagoon City, and Bayshore. As this project continues to drag on, there has to be a faster way of getting these projects approved. This is a tile field on a field, a farmer's field that's been under till for over 100 years. And the cost is overwhelming. Something has to be done. So about the planning process in this province. So I will not support this, but that is my opinion. Fellow councillors, Councillor Bell.
Thank you. This again, it's just procedural. I had questions after last Monday's meeting. There's still no clarity on what support means right now. So we used to receive and support. That meant that we were going to send a letter of support back to whoever had, whichever agency administrator needed to go to. And now we're saying that's not what support means. And unfortunately, I had questions from people who don't understand what this motion now means, that we receive and support. So I'm sorry to have to ask you to explain it again, but it just, people don't understand.
Sure. So what we will do is we will correspond with the municipality of Kincardine, indicating that Council of the Township of Ramara passed a resolution supporting their position regarding Bill 5.
Correct. And then they can tag it on any presentation they send forward that they have support from these communities. Any other questions on the Councillor Fisher?
Okay, so sorry, clarification again. So we're receiving and supporting, saying that we support their position, not necessarily that we're supportive and agree with their position?
Well, if you're supporting their position, you are in agreement and supporting their position. You're endorsing their position. It's an endorsement they're looking for. So, all right, we have a mover and a second, pardon me? Oh, we don't have a seconder. I have a mover. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Snatch. I think I had a mover and a seconder, actually.
So what I'd be seconding is that we receive and that we support.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll second that.
All right. Well, I have a seconder, Councillor Snatch. So all in favor? Opposed? That is defeated, so I'd look for a motion to receive the document. Moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Fisher. All in favor? It is just received. Thank you.
The received the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority correspondence dated May 16, 2025 as information, and the staff prepare a revised plan for the existing trees planted and that potential tree plantings will commence in the fall of 2025.
Well, let's get it on the floor. Councillor Goff, second by the Deputy Mayor. Councillor Goff, lead us off.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is sort of directed to our Director of Infrastructure. I know the Heritage Farm area, Suntrack, I received 18 phone calls in one day regarding the planting. And I know several residents are watching this meeting because I've told them that we are discussing this. Are there any plans for over the summer months at any sort of rehabilitation? We taking trees out, or you still need more time to?
Go ahead, Laura.
Through your worship, the plan is right now to literally just stay as is. We will be cutting the grass and maintaining the property as we normally have. And then we'll work with the Lake Simcoe Conservation. I'm planning to bring back a report in the fall with a go forward plan of where we are here, but there's going to be no changes to what's been planted so far.
What's so far, but a halt on any future at this time. Yes, I'll follow up and then I'll go to council.
I know the Conservation Authority were planning on coming in and doing some herbicide spray around the trees. Is that still moving forward, or are we just leaving it nothing?
Through you, I was unaware of that. I will touch base with them. I do know that there is some management and maintenance as part of this agreement, so I will touch base and see what that looks like. To my knowledge, they will still come in and do that work for the trees.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Snodge.
I thought I saw somewhere that they wanted all these trees planted by a certain time, which was not the end of the summer. It sounded like it was very close. Or they were going to use the trees that were allocated towards Ramara Township elsewhere. Can someone explain that situation, Director?
Yes, so we've corresponded with Lake Simcoe. The trees are perishable, obviously. And as we were holding, we asked them to find alternate locations. So those trees are going to be planted in other areas that they have that are needed. So the trees are not going to waste. They're just not being planted in Ramara.
Right, but are we applying for more trees in the fall after you do this complete plan, revised plan?
Yeah, that's what we'll be looking at.
If the program's available next year.
Correct.
Fine,
Yes,
thank you.
and Lake Simcoe has confirmed that they could do plantings in the fall or in the spring of next year.
Thank you.
You just don't plant them in the dead of summer. Yeah. Councillor Bell.
Thank you. So just for clarification, we weren't funding this tree planting and conservation was. So when we give up these 910 trees, we're giving up the opportunity to have the trees given to us versus us having to pay for the trees. And I'm still not exactly sure where all of this came from. In some of the areas, so for example, at the North Beach and Lagoon City, part of the reason that we need the trees is for soil erosion. And if we were to take out the stumps that are sitting at that beach right now, we wouldn't be able to do that without a full regrading plan that would talk to how are we going to facilitate that to stop any erosion of soil. So now we're just saying, we're just going to stop the tree planting. We're at risk of not having any trees planted later on that, unless we pay for them. So I'm still not clear on where this came from. I see there's just a couple of comments here from a few people. So I don't know why we couldn't have met with these people, and which is what we had been asking for quite some time, actually, was engagement on the tree planting program, so that if we had sat with these residents and had the opportunity to find out what they wanted to see, then maybe we wouldn't be in the position of having to halt this. So I guess my question is, when do we have to halt it? I mean, is it, you know, can they still plant trees next week or the week after? Or is this, it's too late, now we're just losing the opportunity?
I believe it's halted now until the fall, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. I believe they did meet with some of the Levin City representatives, did they not? Did you not have a contact with them?
I'm not clear on how the process prior to me arriving here has gone. It was implementing the plan that had been approved. And because of the information that we received, we decided to halt. It does not mean that we're not going to be eligible for those trees in the future. So
perfect. Okay. Any other questions, Councillor Snodge?
Yes, thank you. I've seen most of the trees, but I haven't seen, have any been installed on the north or south private beaches, or was that halted before? Is it halted now? Did any trees go in on the north or south beach?
no, the Lagoon City sites were not planted, as well as the Ramara Center did not receive its full planting. I believe the other sites did get their full plantings.
Thank you.
Councillor Fisher.
Thank you. Just back to the Ramara Center for a moment. Not going to go where you think I'm going to go with that. The concern that I have with the trees there, I know that we're still in the process of figuring out what it's going to look like. I was at the Ramara Center the other day, receiving the soil for a garden project, and there is a sign right between the shed and the other building that says that it's source water protection area, that there's not to be any pesticides, herbicides, any of the sides used in that area. So, and I did notice that it was on the site plan, that was the intention, is if that's where you're looking, where that was written, it was on the site plan.
Okay, Director. I'll take a look at that and make sure that the maintenance plan is in conjunction with our source protection.
But I think we had concerns there too, because a lot of that area is being used for overflow parking at this time. So, yeah. The new directors looked at it, and we can't fill that area full of trees, or there won't be enough parking. So need to have another look at it. Okay, so on the motion, all in favor? Opposed? And then all in favor. Okay. What are we now? Tree plan number 3, Integrity Commissioners report. Madam Clerk.
The council received the Integrity Commissioner's report dated May 23, 2025, and that council adopts and enacts the recommendations contained in the Integrity Commissioner's report. Specifically, the council suspend the remuneration of Councillor Bell for 45 days for each incident, for a total of 90 days.
Okay, so I have to clarify, this is the commissioner's findings, so we can't question the report in any way. This is his findings. We either put the fine forward or we do not, correct?
Worship. Yes, your worship.
I guess I need clarification. I believe Councillor Bell has a conflict on it. I thought you couldn't vote on your own when it came in. Are you allowed to vote? All right. I mean, I don't want to. Yes.
Through your worship, if I may, and certainly respectfully, the councillor has to determine themselves as to whether in fact they have a conflict. It is up to each individual member of council to determine that.
Good enough. Yes.
As you can see in that letter, it basically says the report is final and not to be discussed, but the fine is something that the individual or council can discuss.
Yes.
That's, I think, on the first page of that document. So I would think that how can you talk about reducing the fine, if you want to call it, or the penalty, if you exclude yourself? So that doesn't add up to me.
All right.
So I would say there's no conflict.
All right. I need a mover and a seconder for the report. Moved by Councillor Snutch, second by Councillor Fisher. Comments? Councillor Bell.
Thank you. Yes, I do have just one comment. I'd like to say that I respect and appreciate the important work carried out by the Integrity Commissioner. I sincerely thank the Commissioner for his efforts and diligence. However, I do not accept the findings of the Integrity Commissioner in this matter. I am currently in discussions with my legal counsel, and they will be reaching out to the township shortly. Above all, I remain steadfast in my commitment to the people who elected me to be their voice, to stand for their concerns, and to advance their purpose. I love our township. Thank you. And I will be having a recorded vote as well, please.
Absolutely. Recorded vote requested by Councillor Bell.
A recorded vote has been requested by Councillor Bell on item 13.3 of the council agenda dated June 2nd, 2025. Councillor Bell.
Opposed.
Mayor Clark.
In favor.
Councillor Fisher.
In favor?
Councillor Goff.
In favor.
Councillor Snatch.
In favor.
Councillor Tuyu.
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Bell.
In favor.
The motion is carried, your worship.
Thank you. I am on county correspondence now. Composition of council. So this is a recommendation. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
That the council of the Township of Ramara consents to the County of Simcoe bylaw 7119-25 being a bylaw to change the composition of council of the corporation of the County of Simcoe. And that a copy of this resolution be sent to the county clerk.
Okay, just some overview. This is, okay, I'll put it on the floor. Moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Fisher. This is part of that triple majority. The bylaw passed county council, and now what it does, it goes down to the local municipalities where 9 of the 16 local municipalities must support it. And then afterwards, whatever ones support it, 9 or more, if it makes up more than 50% of Simcoe County's population, then it's considered and passed. And then it's still got to be presented to the province to put it in place. So I'll open up for questions first. Councillor Fisher.
Thank you. I guess it's just a procedure question because it came on our council agenda rather than in committee of the whole. So I don't know how much discussion we're allowed to have during council because normally we have our debates and discussion during committee of the whole. Because I just want more clarification, but I don't know who to look for that.
Well, it's correspondence from another level
Correspondence, it was
governments.
put on the section of correspondence that to support or not to support.
Okay, but we do have the opportunity to ask questions right now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll wait for the questions to be asked because I don't even know what questions to ask.
Do you want to clarify? And I know you have it in
Yeah.
front of you, the amendments we made to the weighted vote, because that was a concern of some of the councilors.
I'm wondering if I should forward this and have this put up here for people to read.
Can we get it on the
I'm
screen?
just wondering if anybody's concerned about me adding this or giving new information during the meeting.
It's, well, this is what was passed at the last committee of the whole at Simcoe County Council, the changes in the weighted vote and when it's used.
So
It's just, no, it's
Okay.
information that's part of the discussion. So,
Okay. So I can read through the options that were given. This is part of the concern by county council were that the largest municipalities actually have less people to convince to get a majority ruling to have things in their favor because of the weighted vote. And the weighted vote could be used in any reason as long as they call it. And they could actually call it after the fact. If they lost a straight up vote, they could actually call for a weighted vote afterwards and go back to the weighted vote and have that take effect. So here are the options that they put out, which is to separate recorded and weighted votes, to require a weighted vote to be called only immediately prior to the vote. So they didn't have the option of doing it after if they had lost. 3 was to permit 1 vote per member on votes regarding appointments. Option 5 was added in here, which is to permit 1 vote per member on votes where the procedure bylaw requires a 2/3 majority. And option 6 to permit 1 vote per member on a bylaw to change council composition. And that staff report back with the draft amendments. So that's what was put out there as far as the way the vote goes.
So is that part of Simcoe? Has this been finally approved or these are suggestions going forward?
This passed.
It was.
Okay.
so I'm sorry, part of the issue was a weighted vote could waive the procedure bylaw for the day and then deal with whatever small amount of municipalities want to deal with. No, a 2/3 majority to waive the procedure, the bylaw, it's 1 vote per councillor. So That was the reason why the change. That was some of the concerns. Counselor Snow.
Yeah, I won't be supporting this mainly because I love all those suggestions and I think they should go forward. But I still can't, and I'm all for having the council reduced. But there was nothing since the beginning about giving more power to what I consider an unfair advantage to Midland and Bradford and a few other large townships where they can control the county council on issues that are very important to Ramara. So I don't know why they didn't change the weighted vote to make sure that it was the same odds or percentages of getting a weighted vote improved. And this does not address those issues. This basically says that, as the deputy mayor said, now you only need 6 people to basically get together on county from the larger townships, and they will control the agenda. So I'm not supporting it, but I can understand. I would if they could satisfy me on the weighted side, but I'm not satisfied on the weighted side.
That's the one that's confusing a lot of people because we haven't changed the ratios. Right now, 12 votes can. That's the way it count. The way it works is like, remember, I have, 4 votes, I guess, and you have 3 votes. So what we're doing now is when I would now have 7 votes, or the mayor of the day would be next term. So whoever's mayor next term will have the 7 votes. We haven't changed the ratio. We've just taken, in the case of Penetang Machine, they have 3 for the deputy mayor, 3 for the mayor. The mayor now has the 6. That's all that's changed. And the number of council has reduced. We have not changed the ratios at all. But the concern was it's easier to convince 6 people to do something than it is to convince 12. Well, I guess that could be said at any board, because that also goes with the argument that a smaller council can make quicker decisions and move forward faster. It's all about efficiency, right? So I'll open it up, and I do have some comments myself, but I don't mind discussion. I'll go right down the table. Councillor Goff.
My concern was over the weighted vote and how it worked. I've seen how it worked last term of council down there, and it was very frustrating when we'd have a vote on an issue and you'd see the councillor that put that motion, he's trying to figure out the weighted vote, and then he'd call for a weighted vote, so you were voting on it twice. But I think the way with the weighted votes, and they've sort of controlled where the weighted vote can be used, was budget items, I believe, right? It can be used there. So I don't have an issue with it. And I really know that the province is pushing for a smaller county council. And if it doesn't happen on the county level, the province is going to come in and say, okay, this is what you have. So I think it's something that needs to be done. I really believe truly though, that having the deputy mayor there as well as the mayor, it's a big learning experience. And you have 32 opinions from different backgrounds. I don't think the 32 is broke, but I know the province wants to streamline, and it's going to happen one way or the other. It's better if it's in the municipality's control to lower that members of council.
Thank you. And on the weighted vote, that was a big one that we did fix, calling a vote and losing, and then asking for a recorded vote and it changing the direction. So no, you must call for the weighted vote. You can always call for a recorded vote after. Anybody can do that. But the weighted vote now must be before. There's no going back and changing a vote that's on the floor. And that was a big issue that people were concerned.
Could I clarify another point that Joe made before?
Clarify before I go.
Yes, just a clarification is that the weighted vote only on budget items actually didn't go through.
No.
So it's on anything still. That did not change.
Right. Okay. Right. But it is, again, you have to ask for it in advance, but it can't be on the governance issues like the size of council or waiving the procedure bylaw for the day. And okay, Councillor Bell.
I guess I just have a question. I have a couple of things actually, but the first thing is 3.2 says that if the warden is appointed from among the existing members of the council of the corporation of the county of Simcoe, the member is no longer entitled to hold office on the council of a member municipality. So you could end up in a situation where somebody runs for council, then like changes their mind and decides, I want to be warden, and then now that municipality is going to have to run a by-election? Is that,
That was the
scenario it's setting
intention
up?
to avoid. What you would do now is like the regional chairs, what they do in Muskoka, where the mayors would show up at the meeting and now everybody would apply for it like you would any job for the position of warden, and the warden's a full-time, because what we're trying to avoid is today. The Western wardens are at Queen's Park. I'm not there because I had to be here for this meeting. They want a warden that is there for county business and not splitting duties between the other municipalities. So no, if somebody did that, they'd never get reelected again. I can tell you, if you actually ran for mayor and then abandoned the job on the first week, that wouldn't go over well. We did look at the option of doing just that. You would choose one of the mayors, but then county would have to pay for a by-election in that local municipality. Well, nobody's going to put their name forward for warden, knowing they ran for mayor and now they're abandoning. So no, now it will be what they call any eligible candidate, which is you must own land, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there will be recommendations for review. You're looking for somebody with political experience, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But those are recommendations. They still don't disqualify a comment.
So I know it doesn't make sense for someone to do that, but I guess this just kind of says they can. So I guess that would be the thing. I guess if they did, then county would be paying for that by-election and not the municipality.
County would not be paying for that by-election. The local municipality would have to foot the cost, because we're saying, yep, whoever applies, it is a full-time position.
It's just interesting. And I guess the second thing is, and I mean, this is just a commentary, I guess, and or maybe you can have more information about it. But I listened to the discussion at county, and a recurring theme seemed to be, well, what's going to happen to the deputy mayors? And what I found interesting is that it seemed that it was just going to be you're going to end up with the deputy mayors anyway, and you're just going to place them on committees of council or committees of council at county level. So it really isn't any kind of change. And that seemed to be the thrust of the discussion that day. There were a number of council members that day talking about, oh, well, all we have to do then is just move the deputy mayors out of being the second seat. So you go to the 16 and then you just take the deputy mayors and you put them on committees of council. So really nothing's changing. It's just optics. You're just changing you're just moving it from point A to point B. So I guess I think that's a little bit concerning. I was surprised to hear that conversation, and I didn't actually realize that at county, all committees are just made up of county members, and there are no members of the public, for example, health members on the health committee and that sort of thing. So I know you're on the governance committee, and I don't know if you can speak to what that direction is, but I guess my hope is that what we're not doing is just saying, well, we're going to take them from this spot and then just go put them in that spot. So I don't know if you can speak to that.
I can, and actually we do have members of the public. We have the accessibility committee. We have a lot of committees that inquire, even the Lake Simcoe Regional Airport. We have members of the public on that one. We actually haven't made any decision on what to do with the alternates, because and that's one of the reasons why this has come to light. So I might as well talk on it now. I was going to wait. Before, we had standing committees as well. We didn't have a committee of the whole structure. So you would have 3 committee meetings during the week. And then 2 weeks later, you'd have the council meeting where everybody was present. Everybody was appointed to different standing committees. Well, those days are gone. It's now one committee of the whole. All the members are showing up and all the members are coming. And of course, with the invention of the computer age, we're able to get our agendas quicker. So it's more about, if you're making county council and organizing it now, would you send 2 people to represent the municipality, or would you send 1? Because one of the other arguments for years gone by is, well, the mayor's a part-time job. What if the mayor can't make the meeting? There's nobody there to represent the township. Well, the province has now allowed alternates. So you still have an alternate. If the mayor can't attend, the alternate can attend. And now, just at the same governance committee, we've approved hybrid. So now, if the mayor can't make it, they can always have a hybrid. If they can't make that, you now can send the alternate who also has a hybrid option. So the fact that you have to have 2 from each community to make sure you have representation at the table is no longer a valid argument, because there's enough parameters in there to cover that. And that's why when you sit back and you look, but to your other question, Councillor Bell, we haven't decided how much to include the alternates, because part of the thing is we would like the alternates at least to know what's going on. So, you would hope they would watch, but that would be up to the local municipality. If the alternate wants to go as often as what the councillor does, that's something he can work out locally. We haven't decided if we're going to include alternates on the committees and not councillors, because we've never had a shortage of names. wanting to be on these committees. I mean, that's something we could open it up at that time. If we didn't have enough names from county councilors to be on a committee, you'd open it up to the alternates. But that discussion hasn't happened yet, how much to include the alternates. Right now, it's just each municipality would send one instead of two. And I understand the argument that the more folks at the table, the more opinions they have, the more expertise. Well, we have 32 now. Why don't we send 100 then? If more is better. I think one representative from each municipality makes sense. At the times we don't agree, we actually cancel each other's vote out. So then you wonder, why were you there at all and being paid? So to me, if you were forming Simcoe County today, you would be sending one member. So that's my opinion. I hope I answered all the concerns, Councillor. I'll go to the deputy mayor, Dave, and then I'll come back down. Sure.
I think I just wanted to clarify. So number one, I was never opposed to downsizing the composition of county council. The problem I had is that the only sales feature that anybody was putting out there is that we've changed the rate of pay. So we have to depreciate, we have to bring down the numbers of people attending. There's been nothing else other than money savings brought to the table at all. They think the length of the meetings might be shorter because there's only 16 members. People have to be more prepared coming in, all true facts. The other piece of it is you have 32 members currently with different backgrounds, and those backgrounds help for really great discussions in that house. So you have people from construction to accounting to legal to business owners, and all of those things help us make really great decisions that help direct the county in the right direction. And for me, the amount that we're saving per council member by dropping the 16 is so small, I don't see it being the only argument. I think it was in the $3 range per resident for the council members, right? So I just don't see the savings making sense to me without another argument. And so that's why I do believe it should be downsized. I do believe there's a way we could have somehow and this isn't brought to county at this point, so it's nothing we can vote on, but I do think that we dropped to 16 with 4 officials that would combine other municipalities, so they have multiple municipalities to vote on to balance that weighted vote out. I don't know how we do it, but I think there's a better way to look at this, but I think we need to drop it down, but not necessarily in half.
Yeah, this is all based on a study that was done years ago about efficiency in government. And that was one of the options that was on discussion last term, but it was decided not to pursue it, where you do away with the weighted vote, but you now have regional councillors. So every municipality would send one, and then you'd have 5 more regional councillors making up a county of 21. And they said all chair positions would be held by those 5 regional councillors. So I trying to remember the breakdown. We would share a regional councillor with Ora, Madani, Severn, and Ramara. Would elect 1 extra regional councillor. I think Bradford and Innisfil shared 1. And that was abandoned because it comes down to it, nobody ever knows who the regional councillors are. and everybody knows who the mayors of their community are, and they know who the deputy mayors of their community are. So that's why that was dropped, because the mayors were still going to get the phone calls and the complaints, and the regional councillors weren't felt to be as accountable to the individual. So that option of 21 was not brought back this time, and that's why the option is 17. Any other Councillor Snatch?
Once again, the only issue I have is the weighted vote. But I was at the county council meeting when 9 or 10 of the smaller townships put a motion on the floor to have staff look at how they could make it more fair for the smaller townships. And that was turned down by a weighted vote of the council. So, and if the government of Ontario wants to go ahead and push this through, then they do that. I know in my heart, Ramara is not having the same voice in this new county as what we have now. And that's probably all I've got to say.
Okay. My only concern is going to the provinces. If you tell them to pick up the pen, I'm always afraid of where they'll draw the lines. And I don't think any of us want to see amalgamations at this time, and hopefully not that direction. If we can show that we're proactive in moving forward, I think it just shares a better light.
Then why don't the larger townships meet us halfway and give us something that allows the representation to stay mathematically equivalent?
I think it was interesting because when we had that discussion, it wasn't large townships. And I'll use them as an example. Wasaga Beach voted in favor of changing it. They're one of the largest. And yet Tay, one of the smallest, voted in favor of leaving it the same, the weighted vote. So it wasn't a north versus south. It wasn't a large population versus small. When we had that discussion on the weighted vote, it was evenly spread across the table. So it wasn't the larger ones forcing their will. It was some of the smaller ones saying, no, you got to have a weighted vote because you have to represent more population by representation. So, you know, you're coming from Innisfil with a population of 32,000 and Ramara shows up at the table with a population of $10,000 people. Sorry, actually it's electorates. So I think we're closer to 12,000 on electorates. You've got to balance out that vote on the large items. Councillor Bell.
I was just going to say, I think, and my understanding was the province, and I think you clarified it anyway, but the province wasn't involving itself in the weighted aspect of it anyway. The province's direction was just, we want you to reduce the number. Yeah.
They set the formula originally, which is every municipality gets, I think it's 3, and then an extra vote for every 2,000 population is how the weighted formula works. So it's adjusted every year with the census. Every time the census comes out, there's a readjusting of when I first got to county council, Ramara had 6 votes. But our population has increased by another, now we have 7 votes. It's adjusted every time with the census. Question, Councillor Bell.
No, Deputy Mayor. It's all good. It's all good. I was just going to clarify another piece, which was in 2.5 years, just for everybody who hasn't been at county or followed it, there's only been 4 times that a weighted vote's been called. Interestingly enough, 3 of the times were about the composition and the wages of council members. So really, it's very rare that we've seen it in the past. I don't know if it'll be used in the future. I think we're all trying to make sure that it's kind of in that. And funny enough that it was actually lost. They had to go to a weighted vote in order to win as far as only to budget items. And that was won by a weighted vote. So it can be used for that. Has it been? I haven't seen it abused or used as it could be up till now. So just keep that in mind.
And when we voted to the 17 member, it actually passed by a weighted vote, but it also passed by 17-15 for a vote across the floor. So it passed on both parameters. But in the future, we won't know that because you must call for the weighted vote first. So any other discussion on it? And
I just would say, I think we should do a recorded vote on it, maybe.
Yep. Yeah, but not weighted. You're right. There's no weighted vote on it. That was one of the questions that came back. Some of the municipalities thought it had to be a recorded vote. No, it does not.
Mr. Mayor, a little different topic, or you said there that a recorded vote can be asked for at any time, but I think you meant prior to the vote taking place.
Under the Municipal Act, a recorded vote can be asked for immediately following the vote if you haven't moved on. That's in the Municipal Act. So if we have a vote here and then somebody says, you know what, I want a recorded vote, as long as I haven't moved on to new business, you can ask it. So that's what Keith was reading earlier, Deputy Mayor Bell. We had to separate the weighted vote away from the recorded vote. They're now 2 separate items because the recorded vote on the Municipal Act can be asked for before or after, but we require a weighted vote to be asked for prior to the vote. So that's why they had to be separated.
Thank you.
Clear enough? Perfect. Okay, if we're ready to vote.
So a recorded vote has been requested on item 13.4 of the council agenda dated May 2nd. Councillor Bell.
In favor of the reduction, yes.
I got a clarification here. No, I don't vote last on recorded votes. We do it in alphabetical order.
No, I thought we changed that.
Then I don't think,
No, we made it. We clarified the language to make sure that we had the alphabetic done by, the conversation was whether it was by surname. And
yeah, it was by surname, but we never changed it. At county, I actually vote last as warden. Here, no, I don't believe we changed that.
I believe we have.
Okay, we will just suspend the vote. We'll get a ruling on that, a point of order.
I'm okay voting the way it is, but I thought we made a decision that you would vote last going forward.
Yeah.
No, we did.
We did.
Yeah. Yes.
8.6 of the procedure bylaw, when a member of the council requests a recorded vote that that member shall vote first, followed by each remaining member of council in alphabetical order, using their surname with the mayor voting last, announcing their vote upon request openly and individually in the council unless otherwise prohibited by statute. And the
Okay.
clerk shall record the same and shall announce the result of the said vote.
Okay, so I do vote last. Thank you for the correction. I didn't do it on the last recorded vote. I apologize for that. But, well, that way if it's a tie break and all the pressure's on me, right?
That's exactly why it's done that way.
All right, so we will resume our vote now that the point of order has been established. And Councillor Bell voted in favor.
Councillor Fisher,
In favor?
Councillor Goff,
In favor.
Councillor Snutch,
Opposed.
Councillor Tuyu,
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Bell,
Oppose.
Mayor Clark.
In favor.
That is carried, your worship.
Oh, yeah, stay tuned, folks, and we'll see how it goes as the votes are to be in by the end of June. So we'll see where that goes. Okay, next I have Greg Jones correspondence, I believe. Received his information, just the motion is to be received as information. Yep, Councillor Fisher. Oh, okay, I can't, Madam Clerk, if you would be kind enough. Okay, I put on the floor by Councillor Fisher, second by Councillor Goff, yeah. Usually we don't put individual requests on the meeting. Is this off the CIP or was this, why wouldn't this come under depositions and delegations and petitions at the start of the agenda?
I will have to get an answer for you, your worship.
Yeah, but that's fine. It's here now, but that's when it should actually appear. When people want deputations on the agenda, it should come at the start of the agenda, same as if they were doing a deputation. I'm fine with it being here, just where it is. Councillor Bell?
Just also too, there were other pieces of correspondence that arrived over the weekend that I asked for permission to forward. You were copied on some of them. And then we forwarded them. So then if we include these, we should include those too, I think, or.
That's correct. And they were, that's correct. I did receive them and I did forward them to the Director of Infrastructure.
Okay, so, but will they end up getting published as
They actually
addendums,
shouldn't
or?
be. We had
That's what I'm
decided,
confused about, because we have some here, but then we
Yeah.
didn't include the other
We
ones.
I'll look into
decided
it. I'll look into it, your worship, and I'll get back to you.
because that's what we looked into it, and private letters and emails are shared with council and of course shared with the departments, but yeah. Petitions, we take at council, but usually not individuals. Anyway, yeah, we had comments, quite a few of them. I think everybody got the emails. It was almost the same ratio. I'd say it was, of the emails I got, it was 55-60% in favor and about 40% opposed. So the same ratio as what the study we did was. Okay, so in receiving it, all in favor? That is carried. And I think there's another one of the same, well, of course, we'll have the same, and we'll look at our procedure bylaw. So a motion to receive. The next one is
The Jeff Kilborn correspondence dated May 27, 2025 regarding Lakeshore Drive water main works be received as information.
moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Tuyu. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. So postpone motions, I have none. Planning motions, I believe I do have.
That we receive report BP 2125, public meeting report, temporary zoning bylaw amendment, file Z-3/25, and that the draft zoning bylaw amendment as written be forwarded to the Director of Building and Planning for approval and enactment.
This is, of course, the one from the public meeting today over the veterinary clinic. Moved by Councillor Fisher, second by Councillor Bell. All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. That was the planning motion, deputation motions.
That the deputation by Carmen Stumpo of Aurelia Soldiers Memorial Hospital regarding an update to council on hospital redevelopment planning be received as information.
Yeah, there was no actual request. Yes.
We should do that as amended though, because it was originally Terry Dinah. It should be amended. Is that correct?
Yeah, with Carmel Stumpo.
In the
Carmen
package.
Stumpo did the actual deputy.
Oh, I didn't hear you say amended. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Okay, there we are. Okay, so moved by Councillor Fisher, second by Councillor Tuyu. All in favor? That is carried. There's no direct ask at this time. You notice I say at this time? All right, next I have notice of motion, and we do have one. Moved by Counselor Bell, second by Counselor Tui. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Whereas the province of Ontario initially introduced strong mayor's power in 2022 with the stated intent of expediting housing development across municipalities. And whereas the province of Ontario arbitrarily expanded the strong mayor's powers legislation to include an additional 169 municipalities in April of 2025. And whereas municipalities across Ontario have demonstrated a commitment to addressing the housing crisis through local planning approvals and community-led solutions. And whereas strong mayor's power fundamentally alter local democratic governance by concentrating decision-making authority in a single individual, thereby weakening the role of elected councils and disrupting the principles of collaboration and shared leadership. And whereas these powers can create uncertainty within municipal organizations, impact staff morale, and risk eroding the trust that underpins effective municipal governance. And whereas there are currently no provincial checks and balances or independent oversight mechanisms in place to ensure strong mayor powers are being used appropriately and as intended, and the legislation itself has been described by some as open to interpretation, creating a funding flaw in responsible application of these potentially dangerous powers. And whereas the primary barriers to housing construction are not rooted in the municipal decision-making processes, but in broader market conditions, infrastructure constraints, and lack of effective provincial and federal policy supports to stimulate affordable and attainable housing development. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Ramara formally request the province of Ontario to rescind strong mayor's power legislation in its entirety, and that should the legislation not be repealed, that the province immediately remove the Township of Ramara from the list of municipalities designated under strong mayor's powers framework, and that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to all Ontario municipalities, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the Federal Canadian Municipalities, the Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honorable Rob Flack, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Honorable Sylvia Jones, MPP, Dufferin-Caledon, Deputy Premier and Minister of Health, the Right Honorable Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada, for their information, support, and consideration.
Okay, that will appear at our next council meeting. So then we have inquiry motions now.
The council requests a deputation from Enbridge to describe the criteria that determines expansion of services and to clarify their application process.
Okay, and I have a mover and a seconder, moved by Counselor Bell, second by Counselor Goff. Questions, comments? On it now, or we're gonna go ahead?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna ask you how, I would like to know staff if they feel that we're ready to approach them in a deputation, because this is what we're trying to get away from this deputation, is that we're not necessarily prepared for shovel ready.
No, this is them coming here, coming here to our
yeah,
council
sorry, I
chambers
apologize.
with, and we'll start working on a new plan.
Yep.
And no issues, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you unanimously. I have number 2, moved by Counselor Tui, second by Counselor Snutch. Madam
That
Clerk.
staff investigate options and alternatives for an upgraded or new boat launch into Lake Simcoe that will be more accessible for larger boats for Ramara residents, and report back to council.
Questions or concerns with the staff report? Counselor Bell.
I guess just a question, because I feel like this isn't just about a boat ramp. Like, this would be part of a larger strategy. So as we sit today, we don't really have a lot of Lake Simcoe shoreline in our possession as a township. Most of it's privately held. So in a strategy that says we want someday to be able to have waterside development, waterside parks, whatever it is we're looking for, this to me would just be one component of what would be a larger report. So I'm just not sure that this narrow of a focus for a report makes sense. And I wasn't sure exactly what Councillor Tui is looking for. Because if it's just a ramp, I don't even know where that location might be. But if we're looking at, coming back with a report that talks about some kind of strategy for how do we, what does it look like for us to start purchasing land moving forward? Where would that land be? What would it be for? And it's a full strategy. I think that would be something I would support, and I wouldn't expect it to come back anytime soon, but just that would be something that I think is worth looking at as an overall strategy about how does the municipality think sometime down the road we might be able to create an exciting waterfront. So to me, it's a little bit bigger than that.
What's your intentions, Counselor, to you? And then we'll see what the director is getting for direction.
Well, I have had some preliminary conversations with some staff about it, and it appears that there is some available areas that are not necessarily, immediately next door to high density areas that would be, in my opinion, not, frustrating the NIMBY or people that might not want that. And I think it's not worded in this, but my intention also was if this were not possible, could we approach Aurelia in arranging some kind of an agreement for a reduced rate for Ramara residents for using their boat launch?
I would stumble with the second part, but as far as the report goes, General Manager, very basic report.
Correct, yes. And to Councillor Bell's point, really diving into the recreation master plan, which does discuss those overall strategies and the long-term planning for the municipality along those lines. And it was identified in some of those areas about boat launches. So it's just going to pull some of that information, look at lands that we already own, and look at the potentials that we have for that.
And so what are you looking for turnaround on that? Month or two, next meeting?
Yeah, probably within the summer months.
Okay, right. So it wouldn't be coming necessarily to the next meeting, but it would be coming to a future one. Councillor Bell.
And also too, I guess it's worth noting that we do have a ramp for larger boats to access in Lagoon City. So I don't see a way that we would ever be able to construct a boat ramp and then it would be free. You would still have to make a charge just like you do when you go to Aurelia. I think you pay. I think you pay for parking, at least in Aurelia. So I think you pay for launching. Yeah. So, we already have this. So I guess there's that to be considered as well. So you could just go to Lagoon City and launch up to 50-foot boat. So I guess I just want to say that it's out there. There is already opportunity for larger boats to launch. I'm not opposed to learning more, but I guess that's the thing is that will this come back and explain to us what's it going to cost to construct a ramp? And then what do we have to charge residents in order to access the ramp? So I just think the report needs to be a little bit larger than just kind of, well, we could put one there. I guess I'd be looking for more detail in it.
Director?
Noted, and probably we would not dive into too many of the costs as we would have to pick the solution instead of trying to cost and work out details that may not come to fruition. So,
yeah, perfect. Okay, on the motion, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And I have a third one moved by Councillor Snutch, second by Councillor Tuyu.
The staff be directed to obtain a legal opinion on the feasibility of included a common law clause in all employment contracts moving forward, and that the estimated legal cost of $1,000 be approved and appropriated from mayor and council legal fees.
I actually thought we already had this clause. So, all right. Everybody understands the motion. Councillor Bell.
I don't actually understand what we're looking for here because I don't know why we're limiting it to common law versus married versus father-daughter versus.
No. Common law is upon termination that.
I thought you were talking about common law. So I was like, why are we doing this? I looked at it and I just didn't understand at all.
Yeah. This is to do with termination that with the new hires. Yeah. Yeah, no, we don't care who you're married to, if you're married, if you're not married.
That's good.
So, no, I think everybody understands that we'd look into research.
My only suggestion of this, you say $1,000, but we did this. Somehow the procedure didn't carry through, but we've already had our lawyers look at this situation 5 or 6 years ago. And so hopefully we don't if we are going to get a lawyer to review it, we should be dealing with somebody who specializes in employment law.
Yep.
And does that every day of their life.
We're getting the nod. So, okay. All righty. So everybody understands and we'll get the report. All in favor? Opposed of any? None. Okay. Bills and bylaws.
The bill number 2025-25 be read a first, second, and third time is finally passed as bylaw.
That's the planning one, yes.
That's 99 Simcoe Road, your worship.
99 Simcoe Road, moved by Councillor Fisher, second by Councillor Goff. All in favor? That is carried.
The bill number 2025-26 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed as a bylaw. And that's our OP, your worship.
Moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Bell. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you.
The bill number 2025-27 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed as a bylaw.
Yeah, on that last one, that's been like 9 or 10 years in the making. So yeah. So on the zoning bylaw amendment here on concession 10, moved by, let's see some different hands here. The deputy mayor, second by Councillor Tuyu. That is the 10th concession in Udney. All in favor? That is carried.
That bill number 2025-28 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed as a bylaw.
Oh, that's yes. Moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Fisher. This is the sewer project. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Confirmatory bylaw.
That bylaw 2025-39, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on the second day of June 2025, be considered read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
Moved by Councillor Snudge, second by the deputy mayor. All in favor? That is carried. And now the council meeting of the Township of Ramara held on June 2nd, 2025 be adjourned at, well, there are different times here, 12:50 PM. Moved by, all right, Councillor Fisher, second by Councillor Goff. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We worked through lunch, but it was efficient.